Okay, here we go. The Ruptured Towers. I'm going to tell you how to get in there and sort of do an overview of the dungeon. And then there'll be multiple few more videos, one for each tower. So here goes nothing. So to get into the Ruptured... thanks, Sorana. In order to get into the Ruptured Towers... You okay there? In order to get into the Ruptured Towers, you need to go to an ancient enchanter in the Midden or on Palestone Camp on Solstheim. And you'll need... what will you need? You need the White Ring. You also need Ring of Goron. Yes, you need to make the Key of Twilight. You need Ring of Goron, Ring of Ikana, Ring of Zora, Ring of Spirits, Red Ring, White Ring, Ring of Woodfall, and a Dwarven Metal Ingot. So I'm gonna add the Ikana Ring. Nope, wrong one. And I have some Dwarven Metal in my Conjurable Chest from Conjurable Chest and Furniture. And the reason why you need all his reason why you need all this stuff, it's sort of calling back to the 7 Sages. So let's see here. Key of Twilight, Ring of Goron, Darunia. Ring of Ikana is that's the Ring of Time. That's the time thing. Ring of Zora is water. Ring of Spirits is spirit. Red Ring is shadow. White Ring is light. Woodfall is forest. You may be wondering why I didn't use the Ring of Kokiri. It's because the Ring of Kokiri is the rarest of them all, and I didn't want to use it in a crafting recipe. And then the Dwarven Metal Ingot is sort of used as to house all this stuff. So Key of Twilight, that's what you'll need. And you need to get through the Shattered Lands. Alright, so Shattered Lands. You have to get to the Shattered Lands. And to do that, you need to complete all 3 of the dungeons, Morwidishal, Kinoling-Zel, Itnamzand, get the keys from the bosses, enter the Link Between Worlds, and open the gates and all of that, and then you get to the Shattered Lands, get through the Shattered Lands, get to the top of the Temple of Time, and pick up the Phantom Hourglass. And you need the Phantom Hourglass with some sand in it. I have one with some low sand. You just need a little bit of sand in it to craft the Key of Twilight. I forgot to mention that earlier, but you need the Phantom Hourglass. I will probably add a little hint to the Temple of Time that tells you that you need it for the Key of Twilight. Up with the Key of Twilight is the Ocarina Songbook that has these songs in it. You can use that to craft all of the songs for the Ocarina. So you have the Key of Twilight. Without the Key of Twilight, you can't open the Mirror of Twilight. So I'm going to drop the Key of Twilight and show you what I'm talking about. Drop. So nothing happens if I'm not carrying the Key of Twilight. Once I have the Key of Twilight, took a little time to figure out how to do that. It didn't take that long, but got that to work. You can actually close the mirror by taking the key back. which is pretty cool. That's just a bonus. I didn't intend that to happen, but it just did. And obviously this is a retextured Soul Cairn portal. So let's put that back. My computer's lagging a little because it's running the backup program, but it doesn't really matter that much. Okay. Mirror of Twilight is open, and fortunately you can climb up and enter the Ruptured Towers. Okay. This is what you see when you enter the Ruptured Towers. There's Doubt, the Forest Tower. There's Fear, the Fire Tower. And then behind us is Guilt, the Time Tower. It's modeled after the Temple of Time. Well, it's the same thing. Obviously, the Temple of Time is a retextured Winterhold College with the Hylian crest there. And this is really cool because you can see that crest up close. In the Shattered Lands, it's hard to see, but in this one you can see it right up close. And this is one of 3 iterations of the Temple of Time in Relics of Hyrule. There's this one, there's the one in Shattered Lands, and then there's another one that we'll get to momentarily. Well, not momentarily. At the end of the series of videos on the Ruptured Towers. There's the portal. You can't see, but this is a little unfortunate. I wanted it to be that you walk all the way up this staircase in order to get back to the Shattered Lands, but unfortunately I couldn't do that. So the texturing that I did on the portal got lost because you can't actually see it. This lighting is also not the greatest, but from above you can see it. I textured it so it was green. And this portal is meant to be the Twilight portal. This is meant to be a Twilight portal. So that sort of implies something about the Ruptured Towers. That's the very end of the Ruptured Towers. You can't cross this bridge, and then if you try to get over there, you can't really reach it because it's too high. And if you do successfully get over there, you can't open it because the door is locked. So there's Doubt. Here's Fear. Fear is fire. I already said that. In the distance you can see part of Anguish, which is water. Climb the bridge here. Got roots going around here. There's Loss. The rendering here is a little funky. Anguish doesn't render all the way in until you complete Fear for some reason. I tried to fix that, but I don't know. I could try fiddling with it some more, but it doesn't really matter. There's not much else that you can do here, but you can see Loss, and I'm gonna... Here's Misery. Misery is the spirit portion of the Ruptured Towers, and there, behind the branches, is Grief, which is the light-themed portion of the towers. And then you can see the walkway that leads from Grief to Guilt. You travel by means of Apocrypha books. So the sky ends up being sort of a blend of Apocrypha and Sovngarde. You can see the Sovngarde clouds coming in, and that makes it look like the Twilight Realm. But it's sort of a weird blend of Apocrypha and Twilight Realm, and you can sort of think of how that might have happened. So here's the walkway. In order to go through this walkway, you need the keys from the different towers. So you need to complete Doubt, get the Doubt key, and open this gate. You have to complete Fear. I made all these custom banners for all the towers. They have the sage symbols on them. It's the sage symbol for Doubt. For Forest. There's the one for Fire. Here's Water. Fittingly, it looks like a snowflake. Oop. And this is 2 different languages, 2 different types of ancient Hylian. The top is, I think, from Skyward Sword, and the bottom is from Wind Waker. And this one says Water, Anguish. So it's the theme of the tower, and underneath that is the name of the tower. So that's the Anguish Gate. This is the Loss Gate, Shadow. This is Misery Gate for Spirit, and this is the Light Gate for Light. This is Guilt. No, Grief. Grief is Light. And then you open that, and here is the door to Temple of Time. Now, the Ruptured Towers, I was working on it for a very long time. I worked on it from October of 2014 to it was finished in May of 2015. So it took quite a long time to finish. And I was going through some rough times during those few months. And Ruptured Towers, Relics of Hyrule, I started it August of 2014, I think, or 2013, I forget which. But all the time I've been working on Relics of Hyrule, up until very recently, my life was not the greatest. So Relics of Hyrule was a hobby, and it helped me sort of work through some very rough times. And Anguish shows a lot of it. There's a book in Anguish called Acid Lakes that is basically written from my point of view. There's some other stuff in here. It took a long time to finish the Ruptured Towers. And there's inspiration from all of this. Obviously, there's inspiration that factors into all of this. Obviously, Doubt is inspired by the Great Deku Tree. Fear is, most of it is Solstheim assets, which is why the Ruptured Towers won't be in the no DLC version or the Dawnguard version, which I'm not even sure if I'm going to make the Dawnguard version anymore, because I don't really see the point of having an intermediate between no DLC and Legendary. But because Anguish uses Apocrypha and Fear uses Solstheim, I can't have the Ruptured Towers in no DLC. So unfortunately, that's just how it is. Oh well. What's that over? Oh yeah, that's Guilt. Anyway, I think that's good for the introduction of the Ruptured Towers. One last thing, some lore. The idea is that the Shattered Lands is what's left of Hyrule, sort of floating in the ether, and this is sort of what's left of the Twilight realm. But there's also a little bit of something else that factors in, so it's kind of, the final boss of the Ruptured Towers is sort of a familiar face, and it's sort of implied that the Ruptured Towers is partially the Twilight realm, but also partially a construct of the final boss, if that makes any sense. So the sort of the progression Forest, Fire, Water is on purpose, and so it's sort of hard to tell what's what and what's where, because Apocrypha is bleeding into it, and the final boss's sort of mind has leaked into it too. But the Shattered Lands is more or less the same as what's left of Hyrule. The Freezing Caves is also, when you venture into Freezing Caves, you're sort of going back in time, and that's sort of explained in a new part of that I'll go over eventually. But anyway, I've jibber-jabbered long enough. The next video will be progressing through Doubt. So, why don't you join us, won't we? That makes no sense.